A new year for Japan and another earthquake, as a magnitude 7 earthquake rocked the country's east.
First night of the new year has brought a rude awakening for the people of Christchurch. They slept fitfully, if at all, through a series of strong aftershocks.
From just after 1 a.m. until midday, the city was rocked by 15 shocks. The largest, a 5.5 magnitude tremor, struck at...
It's 15 months since the 7.1 September quake rocked the city. It's been shaken more than 8,000 times since.
But it is the reality of where we are. We know this too will pass with time. We just don't know how long.
Here's a question for you. Are you feeling a little shaky this week? If you are, you're not alone. Over the past 48 hours, there has been some kind of a steady rumble. What many people believe are earthquakes in the capital area. Tremors across the southern island, powerful enough to send some folks running for the doorway. The shaking has some people scared, but most are just flat out puzzled. Seismologists say there have been no earthquakes, and they can't solve the mystery.
Toba. Tidal wave. There's a tidal wave.
Tonight, destruction and chaos in the streets of Taiwan. Buildings destroyed, this apartment teetering on the verge of collapse, and authorities now searching for those trapped inside. This man bravely climbing to search for the missing. At least 2 are dead and at least 200 injured in the 6.4 magnitude quake. It struck just before midnight local time. Roads, bridges, cars damaged. Neighborhoods reduced to rubble. Rescuers scramble to bring survivors to safety. In this apartment complex, children are handed down from a balcony to safety below. This was the largest in a string of 70 reported quakes in the last 2 days.
Now to the state of emergency in California, where the governor is asking the White House for help after the largest earthquake in Southern California in 20 years. Meanwhile, people on the ground there bracing for more aftershocks and the possibility of an even larger quake. ABC's Marcus Moore right there in Ridgecrest. Marcus, good morning to you.
Dan, good morning. It seemed to be a quieter night in terms of the aftershocks that you could actually feel, but there were some strong jolts overnight as residents here begin to recover. And as you can see behind me, some have to start all over. California on edge overnight as residents try to recover from back-to-back violent earthquakes.
Get under the table, get under the table. Oh my God.
While still bracing for aftershocks.
I was screaming for my husband. It was pretty scary with all the water coming out.
The shaking so severe, watch this woman struggle to get up.
I used to see this in the movies, people falling down. I think, oh, this is corny. It's real.
Thousands evacuating in the wake of the 7.1 magnitude quake that rocked Southern California, leaving thousands without power and many homes in shambles.
I wouldn't care if I didn't have to go back in that house ever again. That's how intense it was.
It's just not safe for us to go home, so at this point I'm just homeless.
I toured one family's home in Trona. Their belongings scattered and broken on the floor, picture frames hanging sideways, and air vents hanging from the ceiling.
Look at that crack.
And they were telling me that the doors couldn't hardly open and they had to kind of pry their way in. Could you stand?
I couldn't hardly stand.
Could barely stand.
I could barely stand.
Others recovering from fires that broke out as a result of the earthquake. One witness recounting the horror.
The windows started cracking and flames started shooting out, and I just backed up because I wasn't sure if it was gonna blow up.
After 2 major quakes in less than 48 hours that shook pools, ravaged stores, and split roads apart, California's governor is calling on residents to come together.
We all, I think, have a unique role and responsibility to prepare individually to be prepared for the next earthquake of magnitude even greater than 7.1.
And while it seems that things have calmed down here, residents here are not yet in the clear. Experts say there is still about a 3% chance this area could see a stronger earthquake in the coming days. Eva.
All right, we're thinking of those people.
El gigantesco terremoto que sacudió a México ha sido una advertencia para California de lo que puede sufrir en cualquier momento. Con la falla de San Andrés lista para detonar en cualquier momento, los expertos y los residentes se preparan para una catástrofe que es muy difícil de predecir. María Paula Ochoa con los detalles.
Aunque estas increíbles imágenes son de una película, los expertos aseguran que la amenaza de un gran terremoto de casi 8 puntos por causa de la falla de San Andrés es real.
El movimiento en estas placas es horizontal, la energía se va acumulando, van empujando una contra otra y de pronto, cada 150 años o 200 años se suelta esa energía y genera un terremoto.
La última vez que esto ocurrió en el sur de California fue hace más de 160 años. Y aunque los sismos aún no se pueden predecir, este sismólogo asegura que la falla está cargada y lista para disparar. Con un despliegue de tecnología, los centros de investigación siguen los movimientos telúricos.
Tenemos desplegados cientos de sismómetros, también tenemos equipos de GPS, tenemos monitoreo satelital.
Y están desarrollando un sistema de alerta temprana que permitiría anunciar con segundos de antelación la llegada del gran terremoto. Tiempo corto, pero suficiente para evitar tragedias.
Las puertas de una estación de bombero, por ejemplo, se pueden abrir para evitar que se quede bloqueada por la sacudida. Un ascensor lo puedes detener en el siguiente piso para evitar que la gente se quede bloqueada.
Tras el terremoto de Northridge en 1994 que destruyó decenas de casas y edificios, el condado de Los Ángeles ha actualizado los códigos antisísmicos.
Lo principal es la fundación del hogar, porque eso es lo que va a sostener la casa durante el movimiento del sismo.
Para cumplir con los códigos de seguridad sísmica, al readecuar una propiedad, es importante colocar brazos que sostengan las tuberías y placas de metal pesado para que soporten los cimientos de la casa.
Esto puede aguantar un movimiento de 48 pulgadas.
Así lo hizo el Centro de Emergencias de Los Ángeles, que ahora es el edificio más seguro de la ciudad.
Medicinas.
La preparación es lo más importante. Laura siempre trae en su coche una bolsa con artículos de primera necesidad.
Sabiendo que uno tiene sus cosas ahí que necesitan, lo pone a uno mucho más calmado.
Tratar de minimizar el
Las emergencias no dan aviso, por eso es importante preparar con anticipación un plan de acción.
The situation is getting desperate.
They are surviving on the margins, and any little shock.
It's nearly a year since the last rains fell, and animals are falling sick. People are dependent on livestock for basic foodstuffs. Milk is the staple of the Afar in Ethiopia.
Yemen's humanitarian crisis is escalating to devastating levels. As the war-torn nation endures a destructive civil war, the United Nations warns up to 13 million civilians are at risk of starvation. This could be the world's worst famine in 100 years.
We want to warn you, some of the images you're about to see are extremely disturbing and might be hard for some of our viewers to watch. Orla Guerin from our partners at the BBC got rare access to Yemen, and she is following the latest from the capital of Sana'a.
Sana'a, inhabited for more than 2,500 years, with a history stained by blood. It has seen many wars. The latest is now threatening millions of Yemeni lives.
Oh my gracious.
It's really creepy. It's kind of like, is the world coming to an end here or something? I mean, it's scary. But it's crazy. It's scary, ain't it?
How many do you think?
Right across from the Mirage is this.
What some are calling the Great Grasshopper Invasion of 2019 has taken over Las Vegas. Within the past week, these harmless insects have migrated in swarms, covering doors, even testing their luck on the Vegas Strip. State officials attribute the migration to the weather.
The flu season is getting worse, and health officials are warning, watch out.
The flu is prevalent in every single state of the continental United States.
The Centers for Disease Control says well over 14,000 people have been hospitalized with the bug since the season began. That's double last year's number and the highest recorded since the government started tracking it in 2010.